Listen, Wednesdays may be a hump day for some people, but it need not be for you. How would it feel to just hit pause for a moment? A chance to refresh and re-energize your mind, body, and spirit. Let's find out together on the Water Yourself Wednesdays show. Tune in as real women share their stories of triumphs and transformations and how they have manifested the lives that they desire and truly deserve. Hello. Welcome to Water Yourself Wednesday. This is Typhanie Winfield Alexander, the founder and CEO of Momentum Life Mastery Coaching. And I'm along for this wonderful ride for the Water Yourself Retreat and Water Yourself Wednesdays, when we talk to real women, real life, real stuff.
All the real time.
And so this week, our format's a little bit different because we are really doing all the real life things, right? And sometimes when things don't go according to plan, you have to adjust your plan. And so I think that once you've had a little bit of experience pivoting, turning on your heel, making lemonade so delicious out of lemons, then you get pretty good at it. And we're serving up the good stuff today.
Yeah. It's the vibe and weave.
So I'm just going to take a moment and turn over the space to introduce my special guest today. You feel free to introduce yourself, your name, what you do, who you are, and why you're here.
All right. Okay. So I am Malyka Henderson-Mckisson. I am the founder and CEO of the Keep Moving Forward project. I specialize in holistic awareness coaching. I'm also a special education teacher. I work with learners who have autism, and this work lends itself to those things when you're thinking about shifting perspective. And so I'm here to talk about that, to engage and create an awesome opportunity between the two of us. So
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. And in the background, we have our producer extraordinaire. That Zan is hanging out in the background. She's going to be jumping in periodically. And Zeph, if you have something to add, something from the chat, any questions, go ahead and chime in. Everybody say hi to Zeph.
Hi, everybody. I'm just behind the scenes today. I want to let this too shine.
She is so sweet. She's awesome. So we were talking about what we wanted to talk about today. Mm-hmm. And it was so funny. We think about like all of these positive quotes, and we think of affirmations, and we think of checklists, and we think of all that stuff. And we think about it in terms of like, I've got things to do. I've got things I want to achieve. But we don't often spend a lot of time thinking, how do we get there?
Yes.
We just kind of wing it, make a way out of no way.
Yeah.
And sometimes that can impede our ability to achieve our goals. Mm-hmm. Like we mean well, but we don't actually make progress because we don't actually have the systems in place.
Yeah, the framework. Yeah.
Or the stability.
Got it. Because life happens in real time. And so you're requiring people to make real time decisions with whatever strategies they've mastered, not what they've been exposed to, but what have you mastered. And so that requires a little bit more navigating. And as I love to say, it requires grace.
It is the truth. So it's interesting because we were talking about what to do, like the actual tangible strategic steps about what to do. And so I have a framework that I work with on that.
Yes.
And when we were talking, we discovered that you also have a framework, and that our two frameworks kind of support, fuse together, and augment each other.
Absolutely.
And each one of us is using elements of the other's framework
without really realizing that's what we were doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we thought, just for hoops and yo-yos, that we would actually share what some of that looks like. So one of the things that I do as a coach, just to kind of kick off the idea, is that no matter if I'm working with someone one-on-one or in a group or in a workshop or mastermind, or if I'm facilitating a long-term training, no matter what, there's a function and a framework that's underneath how I work. And I worked with my business coach years ago to define exactly what it is. Because when she asked me, she was like, well, what's your framework? And I was like, I don't know what that is.
What are you talking about?
I do what I do.
Yeah.
And then she was like, yes, but how do you do it?
Yeah.
Because you've been able to reproduce the same types of results over and over again. So clearly you're working with some kind of system or sets of strategies.
Absolutely.
But I didn't know that you called that a framework.
Yeah.
So when we talked about it, and I really got down to it, I came up with, ironically, the acronym for arrows.
Yes.
Now, those of you who know me know that arrows are very much near and dear to me for a myriad of reasons that I won't get into here. Follow me, hashtag Momentum Life Mastery Coaching.
Absolutely.
But I have basically this framework: assess, reflect, resolve, or reconcile. Those are two different things. Organize, work, succeed, and sustain that success. And so no matter what the goal was, you always had to come through one of those acronyms.
Yeah.
And once we have that system in place, you could literally go back to any point in the system and identify where it's breaking down and stitch that loop and catch it.
Absolutely.
So that was my basic framework.
Yes.
And then you shared.
Yes, I shared grace.
Like I did the what.
Yeah.
But then you had a very specific how to go about.
Yeah.
So can you please share a little bit about
So when
your framework?
People decide to come and work with me to get an understanding, I use the framework of grace. So G is obviously generosity of grace, because you're going to need grace for yourself and grace for the people around you, because you're doing something different. And if you're doing something different, you're going to show up differently to those people around you. So that's G. R is responsibility. So we have to take responsibility for the shift that we're taking. And how other people respond is not our responsibility. Just to remind people to come back to that space of, here are the things that you're responsible for. A is awareness or acceptance, because you need to become aware of what's going on and then at some point accept, and then you can move forward. I'm not saying that you have to change, but you need to first be aware. And then if you decide to accept it, great. Now where are we going with that? C is commitment. You have to be committed to the process. That is just an essential step. Otherwise, you're not going to see anything different happening. So the commitment is important. And my favorite is evidence. My clients know that I'm always looking for, where is the evidence that you've made progress? And it's about you acknowledging your successes. And it's also about the success of whatever it is that you're trying to achieve with other people. So if it's a relationship, well, they never listen to me. Okay, where's your evidence that they don't listen? Are you looking for a specific response, or like, where is it? What is it that you're looking for? Do you want to feel a certain way? Because we need evidence that this statement you're making is true because. And so I'm a big fan of show me the evidence. Make sure you have your aligned actions. Yeah, there we go.
Ooh. So when we say we need to have grace, like that's a whole nother set of layers.
Yeah, right? Because it's one thing to go through it and to do it, and how you shift your mindset. And that's why I talk about that in the moment processing, because you have to have grace. I mean, you might fall into an old habit, and you have to have grace with yourself. And then you start with each of those little pieces.
So I think that one of the things that I'm gonna pull the chair back a little bit and talk to a specific audience, and it's usually women, right? Women who put the entire world on their shoulders, and in some cases, not even willingly, but that these responsibilities have been put on their shoulders in addition to what they choose to pick up. And so there's all of these different things swirling around about what they gotta do and then what they want to do. And then trying to figure out, well, how do you plan? How do you achieve? How do you isolate which goals are yours and what is just what you have to do? So like even working in a framework, like how do you even begin to sort all that out?
Well, the first thing you want to remember is that you are not what you do. You have to honor yourself. So you are not just the persona that you put on, mom, sister, cousin. You are your own person. And so I think that's where the A in grace comes in, is understanding that awareness, because you don't know what you're working with if you're listening to all these other voices. You have to be able to hear your own voice. And I think once people take ownership of that responsibility, the R in grace, they're able to see things a little bit differently. They're able to kind of like say, oh, wait, that's the direction my mom wanted. That's the direction my kids want. My kids expect me to do this. My husband expects this. My boyfriend expects that. My girlfriend, whoever you choose, whatever that relationship piece is. I'm not just a relationship person. It's also about making sure you achieve your goals. But until you're clear about you, till you're aware of who you are and how you're presenting, there you can't work on the rest, because you're doing it for other reasons and not just what's solely for you.
So then also, even thinking about, now I've gotten this awareness and I've taken responsibility for my actions, etc. Right? So then what do you say to that person who's like, but it's not working? I'm doing all the things. Like you said assess, reflect, reconcile, organize, and work. You said, you know, have awareness, take responsibility. I'm doing all those things, but it's not working.
Okay, so tell me why it's not. Where's your evidence that it's not working? That's the E in grace. I need the evidence. Give me the evidence. And as you're giving your evidence, you will notice the things that the loopholes or the missing parts, because that's my goal. Is I'm an awareness coach, so I'm looking for the blind spot. I'm a system person, so I know if there's a glitch in the system, then you're not going to get the results you want. And then there's a piece of commitment. Everything. It didn't take you 15 minutes to get where you are. All right, let's just call a thing a thing.
Let's call a thing a thing.
Okay, and so you're going to have to at least put that much time into it, and you're going to see progress because you're doing something different. But if you're expecting something out of nothing, I'm going to bring that to your awareness as well.
Yeah. So now that we've taken all the excuses off the bench and put them into play.
Right.
Sorry about that.
It's all right.
What I do love, though, is that there's always that piece where there's the judgment-free zone, and recognizing that no matter how many times or how many ways, that maybe we drop the ball, right? Maybe we overlook something that's obvious. Maybe our best that day, maybe that best is not up to the task of doing all the things that day. What do you say to someone who is in that place where there's a lot of self-judgment, or there's a lot of expectation upon oneself?
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. The G. You've got to give yourself grace.
But what does that
going
mean
to be
for
hard.
someone who doesn't know it?
So for someone who doesn't understand what grace means, that means that change takes time, right? And a lot of times we spend our time focused on what we haven't done. The fact that you've shown up today to put this work in with your time with me, the fact that you want something different. We have to acknowledge every step. And I understand it's hard, because it's hard for the person. For me as a facilitator, it's hard for me. I have hard days. I have to also exercise grace with myself, because I'm an assistant person. So if I feel like there's a flaw in my system, oh my God, what did I miss? Self-doubt, all that judgment comes up. And then I remember my strategies, right? It's not always going to be automatic, because you're in a process. And this is where I would like to say to people, we're going to trust the training.
Trust the training.
Trust the training. Trust that you're going to see something different. Yes, you can question it. You can do all the things. And because two things can be true.
They're not mutually
exclusive. Two things can be true. And
right.
You can trust the process. Right?
So when you're doing all of these systems and you're having this grace, and one thing that I specifically loved about this show and this format is this importance of bringing back this idea of watering yourself. This idea of taking intentional time, regardless of what is happening around you, all of the things going wrong, whatever the challenges are with the relationships, and spending intentional, deliberate time to focus on oneself. Can you share a little bit about what that journey and process was like for you?
Yes. So being a system thinker, I'm always thinking about what I haven't done, or what needs to be fixed, what needs to be adjusted. For me, it is a challenge, because I've been called an overachiever. You want all these things, you want them in a certain way, and I do want things in a certain way. And I have to give myself grace. I have to pour back into myself. I have to give myself that time to hear me talk wonderfully to me, to treat myself well, to set those boundaries with other people, and making sure that I'm at least hear me first. I have to hear me first. Then whatever, if you have a spirituality, if there's religion or those things, they come with their conditions and their expectations of you as a member of what that is. But the bottom line is, you have to trust yourself. You have to hear yourself, hear your own voice, and give yourself that time to be like, oh yeah, I do have my own best interests. I have to learn to love every single part of me. If I'm exercising and I don't like the way my thighs look this week, I have to remember that my thighs need love too, right? My thighs need love. My process needs love. It needs all the grace that I can give it, because we're on this journey together. I need my body in order to do the rest of my work. I need my mind in order to do the rest of my work. These are the things that I have to remember when I'm watering myself. So it hasn't been easy. And some people are people pleasers, and so they want to make other people happy. And I've had times where I didn't even know what made me happy. So I had to spend that time watering myself to remember what it's like.
I'm shifting in my seat a little bit. It was not that long ago. I very much remember exactly what that feels like. And they're even now, with these frameworks and systems and reminders and processes, that I still go through those moments. And it comes back to something you said. Nope, go back and trust the training.
Yeah.
Come back to it. Come back to what works. Come back to what works. And I like to say, like, I'll tiptoe through the valley of despair. I won't stay there.
Hang out.
I'm not going to hang out. I'm not going to buy souvenirs.
Yeah.
We're not going to book a return trip anytime soon.
No. But you do have to sit in it. And so we have to sit in those emotions and give them their voice, give them their time to show up and express. And then you get to move forward. Because when we repress, we're denying our own voice.
So you just brought up something I think that we don't talk about nearly enough, and that is the importance of sitting with any emotion, whether it's joy, happiness, pride, elation, anger, jealousy, fear, shame, doubt. no matter what the emotion is, there's a message in it.
Absolutely. All behavior is communication.
Right, right. And so just this idea that, well, I have to get over this quickly, or I shouldn't feel this way or that way, instead of I'm feeling this way. What is it trying to tell me? Why do I feel this way? Where is it coming from? Is it a now thing? Is it a then thing? Am I remembering something that I felt before in the here and now?
So in the moment, my goal for you is to just feel the emotion. Let whatever come up, come up. Allow it to be. We can rationalize, we can process, we can dig in later. Because you're not in a space right now to receive.
Make it make sense.
Right?
Can I just be mad?
I need you to just be mad. Go, yeah, girl, go. I hear you. I'm listening. And how often do we want to be heard?
So just one last thing on that point. You're feeling the things, and it often is a source of conflict when we don't communicate our need in that moment.
Absolutely.
And I actually just had this conversation with somebody I care about where it was, okay, I hear you, I see you, but in this moment, I'm not sure what you need. So is it that you want to vent? And I'll sit back, I'll cross my arms, and I will nod my head, and I'll be like, yep, I hear you. Or are you needing something different? Do you need counsel? Do you need to bounce ideas off of me for feedback? Or do you just want to be in the room? Do you want me to be quiet?
And here's the thing, we can't tell other people how to feel. And I'm not here to change your minds. No, not at all. I am here to hear you.
Just to hear. So in that process of learning all of these ways and systems and how we work and what works for us and what doesn't work for us, that awareness seems to be the ace number one in both our systems.
Yeah.
Right. And the evidence of what actually is and not what it appears to be.
Yes, tell the truth and shame the devil. Let's go.
And then in whichever way you function, whether it's the what or the how or a combination of both.
Absolutely.
Right? That you trust the process and you give yourself space and the grace to make mistakes and to come back and try again.
Yeah, because mistakes are information.
Mistakes are information.
Mistakes are information. You need that.
Emotions are communication.
Yeah.
Mistakes are information.
Absolutely. I keep them
I
coming.
want some of these t-shirts.
I keep them coming.
I need these on the t-shirts. Put it on the front and back.
Absolutely.
Read it coming and going.
Absolutely.
So I'm actually going to take just a second and I'm going to knock on the back door and I'm going to ask Zeph. Zeph, do you have any questions or insights, or I want to throw some salt and pepper on top of this thing?
I love that you asked this, but I think just one final question before we go, and I think we have just a few more minutes here. And I think we asked all our guests this question before we end the show. Is this right? So the show is where we real women share real stories and real transformations, right? So in talking about the frameworks that work in achieving our goals, Malyka, is there anything that through your own transformational experience that have maybe our audience today, there's one thing that you can share with our audience? What is your journey in this framework that works that has really transformed you?
Okay.
Ooh. She's like, ooh, I didn't see that coming.
So in the field that I'm in education, as well as in life coaching. In life coaching, I can show up as myself and do what needs to be done. But in teaching, we represent the district. We represent the goals of educating learners. And I have a very specific population that I work with. And I have made mistakes. And as a system person, making those mistakes are hard for me to live with. I will make a mistake, but okay, well, I guess then that's it. I guess I no longer have value. I can't contribute to the growth of these learners because it's a huge responsibility. And thankfully, I was able to get connected with a life coach that was able to walk me through the arrows. This one over here. And able to really process that framework and get into recognizing that I am a person first. And then I was able to kind of like rebuild myself, not myself as a person, not me as a teacher, not me as a role model, not me as anybody else. So that took a long time, and that helped build my what people call your authentic voice. And I learned to hear my own voice. And so I know the value of that, of being able to hear your own voice and move forward and create goals that support many of the areas of my life, not just me as mom, also me as an educator. So when we make mistakes on our job, you could lose your whole job. And it's powerful. It was a powerful thing to go through that and to not feel like I'm enough. And I was able to get through that, through those frameworks, through rehearsing the strategies and making sure I'm using them in real time. So it was a very tough time. And I can also reflect back to being a mom with my kids. And, they tell very different stories about what I'm like as a mom. Yes.
We all can attest to that. Yep.
Yeah. So it's similar things. But that one moment where I was able to really dig in and work with my coach. This one.
Thank you. That was awesome. That was so awesome. Thank you.
So thank you for the questions, Zeph, and thank you so much for your time to have this just sit down conversation. I feel like we were missing coffee and tea and biscuits. So maybe next time
we'll have that.
But for you guys out there, I hope that you were able to take away at least one nugget of information from this lovely conversation with Malyka. And I hope that you tune in, not just today, but for upcoming Water Yourself Wednesday shows. And go back and check out the ones that you've missed as well, because there are golden nuggets strewn throughout. Thank you so much for joining us. And thank you all Zeph. So much. Thank you, everyone.
Take care. Water yourself.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Indeed.
Thank you for tuning in to the show. We hope the stories shared have inspired you to water yourself. Your transformation begins here. Until next time, keep on manifesting the life you desire and truly deserve. The Water Yourself Wednesdays show is a production of Engage LLC and is brought to you by Water Yourself Retreat. Get more information about the event and community support at wateryourselfretreat.com. You can also follow us on your favorite social media platforms: LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube.